You're listening to the Redefining Wealth podcast with me, Patrice Washington. This is the space that you come to every week to learn more about what true wealth is. In this community, we understand that wealth is so much more than just money and material possessions. We believe and we adhere to the original definition of wealth, the 12th century definition of wealth, which says it's all about the condition of well being and happiness. And so, I am so excited about today's conversation because one, I have admired this woman for so long, well before I got a chance to really connect with her. And now I get to call her one of my business friends, and she is so inspiring, so loving, and here to talk about what it means to relax into your relationship with money. But listen, if you're brand new, you need to know that we operate from the 6 pillars of wealth around here. And if you're interested in figuring out which one of the pillars really desires your attention and focus in this season, I want to encourage you to go to patricewashington.com/start here so you can take our 2-minute quiz and just figure out where your journey with money really begins. Not what they tell you, but where your unique journey begins. Before I introduce you to Kate Northrup, I want to share her bio and then I'll share the affirmation of the week. I said that so backwards, so you guys y'all edit that out. All right. So before I get into this conversation with my friend today, let me tell you a little about her. Kate Northrup uses neuroscience-based methods to help people heal their relationships with money. She's the author of the bestseller, Money, a Love Story, and Do Less. And she's the host of the top-ranking podcast, Plenty, which I have recently been a guest on. Her work has been featured by the New York Times, Oprah Daily, The Today Show, Glamour, Harvard Business Review, and more. She lives with her husband/business partner and their beautiful daughters in Miami. And today she is going to be such a blessing to you. Now, before I bring Kate up, I want to share with you the affirmation of the week. My relationship with money is beautiful. I am cultivating a relaxed, joyful relationship with money where earning, managing, investing, and growing it feels as natural and peaceful as breathing. I understand that how I feel about money connects deeply with my well being and my nervous system. So I approach financial conversations with the utmost care and grace, ensuring I stay calm and centered. Every financial decision is aligned with my values and not the shoulds of the world. I'm embracing an abundant mindset that transforms my interactions with money into positive, stress-free experiences that enrich my life. By nurturing this healthy relationship with money, I affirm that true wealth is about my wellness first. So I set the foundation for a life filled with prosperity, ease, and peace. Declare with me today, my relationship with money is beautiful.
I love that. That's great.
Welcome to the Redefining Wealth podcast again, Kate Northrup.
Thank you, Patrice. I'm so happy to be here. I love that affirmation. That was beautiful. I closed my eyes. I really took it in. It was great.
Yeah, I wrote that as I've been going through Relax Money. What a beautiful course you have created, a beautiful experience. And I am so excited to get to share you again, but to get to share the philosophy of allowing this to be a peaceful journey. Because
Mhm.
most of us, our experiences started with money pretty chaotic and
Yeah.
everything but peaceful. So I know you've been here before, but we would love to hear again. How was your initial interaction with money, and
Yeah.
how has it evolved into this concept of relaxed money?
Well, I grew up in a household where there was always a feeling of stress and pressure around money. So it's like money would come in, but the conversation was like, oh, it's already been spent. We're behind from an achievement perspective, and achievement was always kind of linked with money. Around tax season, my dad was incredibly stressed out. He would cover the entire living room floor with little piles of paper with his like highlighters. And so the message I got was money is stressful and money requires a certain amount of stress and pressure in order for it to come in. And also, it's really important to have some level of external achievement, climbing some kind of ladder for approval, ideally oriented around being smart. So, like, all of that was in there. My parents actually got divorced when I was 15, 16. And there it was right around the time, interestingly enough, that my mom's career was taking off in a really big way. So unconsciously, I made that mean that I could either be have financial abundance and be financially powerful, or I could have romantic partnership. And through my 20s, I really toggled between only having one of those things at a time. And
Mhm.
I would either be all in on a relationship, frequently with guys who did not have it together financially, or I would be totally focused on my career. And yeah, so, we pick up a lot of stuff about money.
Yeah.
And those were some of my early days.
So this is so good. I don't think I've heard you actually share the piece about being in your 20s and those relationship
I don't really
dynamics.
like, I've really only said that like once or twice. I don't know
Oh
why. I'm
my,
just telling you
it's
today.
an exclusive. Thank you, Redefining
Exclusive.
Wealth. I
That
love
is not the
this.
money story that that's not my rehearsed version.
Well, you know, it's so interesting. I do lives every day in the Redefining Wealth app, and we were just talking about this concept not too long ago. This idea that we create this either or. And so when we are really focused on business and wealth building and career building, we don't think that love is available to us. And then we feel like, well, to be agreeable and to be lovable and to be seen as lovable, that we have to go all in there and completely dismiss the parts of us that we consider to be masculine, which are the things that are related to money and wealth building.
Yes.
How did you make the what was the aha that that's what you were doing in your 20s?
Well, okay. So I've always known that I wanted to be a mom. I've always, my dreams, I've always had career dreams, but my career dreams were centered in I want to run my own business so that I can have the freedom to be able to really be present with my kids and create like a beautiful family. So it was always very lifestyle focused. Both of my parents are doctors and they just like worked a ton, and they just were very much about their careers, and I'm so grateful for the opportunities it allowed us. And I was just like, yeah, nope, that's not for me. i
Yeah,
want i
same.
want choices, I want freedom. And so I um knew that it was getting to be towards the end of my 20s, and I was starting to feel like I really want to meet my husband. you know Hindsight is 2020. I think it's hysterical that I was anxious about that, but whatever, here I was. I could go back and be like, hello, you have so much time. But I was feeling anxious about it. And what I noticed is my primary friend circle was super successful single women who talked a lot about how there weren't a lot of good men out there. And I
Mm,
was like, okay, this is not going to be the vibe, because by osmosis we take on the energy and the reality of the people we spend time with. We just do. So we have
mhm.
to choose wisely. And these women were absolutely magical and incredible. So it's not like I cut them out of my life, but I knew that I had this belief that I could either have financial success or romantic love. Like I just was aware of that because of what had happened with my parents and because of my own patterns around dating. So,
Mhm.
one of my favorite shortcuts for changing our a limiting belief is to spend time around people who have the opposite of your limiting belief, because it automatically rewires you to be like, oh, actually, of course it's possible because it's right there. So I signed up for a yoga teacher training, a 300-hour 8-month yoga teacher training with Rodney Yee and Colleen Saidman Yee, his wife, because I knew them well-ish, but I was like, they have, out of all the people I look at, they have the like they have this, there's a lot of chemistry, there's a lot of like romantic energy, and they are both thriving in their careers individually and together. So this is the vibe that I want in my life and in my marriage. This
Yeah.
is what I want to repattern myself for. I had no intention of ever becoming a yoga teacher, but I just signed up so that I could like immerse myself in their marriage energy. And
Yeah.
the weekend after graduation from the teacher training, I met my husband.
Of course you did. I absolutely love this. And I talk about this all the time, like curating the community that you need, like curating those examples that you need. You went to put yourself in that space, not necessarily to become a yoga teacher, but to be in that energy. And I feel like whenever we put ourselves in spaces where people speak the language that we desire, right? It's like a little kid being dropped in a foreign land. You're just going to pick up the language.
Yeah.
Little kid, I mean, it's like our kids coming out. They have no concept really, right? And they pick up the language because it's just the language that is being used in the space and they get it. And I think that's what happens when we take ourselves, for example, out of spaces that the language is very much rooted in fear and lack and scarcity. And we even start to go into spaces where the language is abundance and prosperity and money is easy and things
Yeah.
can happen with ease and grace. You start to go, oh, okay, yeah, of course it can.
Yeah. And even if you're not able to, let's say, in this time in my life, for
Mhm.
example, I wouldn't be signing up for an 8-month yoga teacher training, like 300 hour. Like I have so many better
Right.
things going on now. I have kids, whatever. But let's say there was an area that I really wanted to upgrade and expand. I could still do that by joining the programs of people who had that energetic frequency that I wanted and listening to their podcasts and reading their
Mhm.
books and like deleting anyone from my Instagram feed um that like uh doubles down on the limitation, and only
Yeah.
following those accounts that support my new desired identity. So you don't have to be as extreme as I was with this. There are so many ways to do this, and I mean that's why I keep signing up for programs all the time, because
Yeah.
even though I've been in this industry for 100 million years, um like I don't know everything. There's so many areas I want to grow and expand in. And being around other people who already have what you want is
Yeah.
the easiest way to make that reality yours.
Absolutely. And speaking of that, when I was feeling coming out of my divorce and having all of these new my own new money identities, if you
Yeah.
will, like be it's just in a different season. When I was feeling some type of angst, you were the person that I thought of. And speaking of being able to sign up for courses and put yourself in that energy, I start taking relaxed money and going through the modules and the exercises. And I'm like, oh my gosh, Kate is brilliant. And I already knew you were brilliant from, obviously meeting and talking and all the things, but being able to immerse myself in your work. And some things are uh, just things that are coming back to my remembrance. Like you're illuminating things I've heard before, you're illuminating things I've said and I've
Of
taught as
course.
well. And then also just exposing me to even more things. I think it's so important for people to acknowledge that just because you've reached a certain level of success, it does not mean that you know all the things and that you don't need to be reintroduced or have things that need to be repatterned, reframed, restructured for you. And I look to you for that. So I'm so excited that Relax Money is reopening. And I want to just ask you some questions around some of the things that some of the great ahas that I had
Cool.
in Relax Money. So first of all, even from your first book, Money a Love Story, or the first book that I remember. I don't know if it was your first book.
That was my first book.
That was
Yeah.
your first book. And
Yeah.
I remember being in the airport and seeing you on some show talking about it. And I was like, oh, this look like I could see you and I could see the lower
That
thirds,
was
but I
that was
couldn't
my
hear.
one and only TV appearance, Patrice, that you happened to catch. It was when I was on the Today Show.
Yes, I was in the airport and I remember
Oh
looking
my
and
God,
going,
that's wild.
yes, years ago. And I remember
Wow.
looking, I was like, oh, that looks cool. She sound, oh. I was sitting there wishing I could hear, and the fact that I get to talk to you now and text you is crazy,
Wild.
but that's how I first saw
Cool.
you, and I remember when I looked it up and also just thinking about the description, it talks about how, like any other relationship in our life, it just comes down to love, and the fact that so many of us have a love-hate relationship with money, how could we ever come into a beautiful relationship with money if we're actually secretly hating it, despising it, all the things. Let's talk about just briefly why you said money a love story. What did that
Yeah.
mean for you?
Well, in my early 20s, this was part of like my whole reprogramming around my own relationship with money. I got myself into a whole bunch of credit card debt because I was so, and this is, of course, at the time, I couldn't have known this, but what was going on is I was feeling so afraid of how powerful I could be that my way of staying small was overspending and financial avoidance. So,
Okay.
yeah. So I got myself into
Wait,
a bunch of credit card debt.
can we please say that
Yeah,
one more time?
sure. I was so afraid of how powerful I knew I had the potential to be that I overspent and got myself into a bunch of credit card debt to play small.
I'm just breathing for all the collective breaths that are going to be taken at this point in the episode.
Well, thank
Because
you for
that
that.
probably was a wow and aha for someone right now in their 40s, 50s.
I certainly hope so. I certainly hope so. And, based on the story that I had told, like when my mom's career started taking off, like my parents got divorced. And so I was just trying to keep it under wraps so I could keep love. Basically, I was like trying to keep myself just enough relatable so that I could attract what I thought was the love I wanted. And so anyway, I knew though, eventually, like with creditors calling and with the amount of it really became an integrity issue because in front of the scenes, I was this young go-getter hanging out with, all these people in New York. Like I was with Marie Forleo and Gabby Bernstein and all the people in Lewis Howes and like all the people in those early days. And so in front of the scenes, I looked like I was killing it. Behind the scenes, my financial life was a mess. And I
Mhm.
was eventually, there was such a disconnect, it became so uncomfortable from an integrity perspective. And I was like, I knew I needed to get it together. I knew I needed to become a financial adult. But all the advice I was finding out there was like really boring, honestly. Like it was just, it just felt like boring. And then when I listened to these people, I felt bad about myself. And I was like, this is awful. And I knew I wouldn't actually take the action steps I needed to do. And I hadn't yet if I felt bad about myself while doing them. Like it was very shame and
Mhm.
guilt based. And
Mhm.
I just knew I wouldn't actually do it. I mean, I'm the girl who quit every single sport as soon as the coach started yelling at me. I was like, this is not motivating. I just feel bad about myself. I'm out. So literally every sport. And so I created my own curriculum and
Mhm.
I was like, okay, I will take care of my money if I can relate to it as a way I am loving myself, as a way that
Mhm.
I am taking care of myself. And so, as soon as financial awareness and looking at my numbers and tracking and being on top of things became the same as like going for a pedicure or going out for lunch with my girlfriends or journaling, I started actually doing it. And I built in these ways of making it fun and pleasurable so I would actually show up. And within 6 months, I was able to pay off all my credit card debt and increase my income from $34,000 a year to $125,000 a year. And that was like, that's a very big jump, especially
Yeah.
considering I didn't get some high paying job. I did not like start dating or married a rich man, and I didn't have an inheritance. So it didn't come anywhere from like some outside windfall. I mean, if it had, it would still count, but in my case, it just didn't. It was really from internal changes that shifted the way I was being. And then it shifted my entire financial picture. And
Oh
that's
my
where the
god.
love part came in. Money, a
Yeah.
Love Story was about the love story that I was creating with myself and my money.
Oh, this is so good. This is so good. So that means that you weren't avoiding opening mail, which I'm sure you had probably been doing at
Oh
one
my god,
point.
I had a giant drawer, like a jumbo drawer, and I just never looked.
What are some of the other avoidant things you were doing before this big awakening that you needed to fall in love with it?
So I was in network marketing, so I was a business owner. So I didn't have like a clear paycheck. And so I got paid every week from, my commissions, but I never knew how much I made actually because it was different every single week. So it was a very easy thing for me to have no idea how much money I made. And I had no idea how much money I spent. And I also had no idea how much I owed on credit cards. And so once a year, when I would finally do my taxes late, I would know how much I made and how much I spent, just only from a business perspective, right? Because like I had to file the Schedule C. And so another way it manifested is I just didn't know my numbers. Like I had
Mhm.
no clue. And that was a big way that I avoided. I also, hindsight is 2020, but I'm like, I didn't invest. Hello.
Mhm.
My mom was like, put 10% away of everything you make. Are you doing that? Yeah, yeah, yeah. No. So I just like spent everything and didn't get about the power of compound interest and, you know, whatever. So I just want to
Mhm.
say that for anyone else who also kind of missed that boat, it's okay. We're fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In one of the acronyms that I saw for abundance, one of the A's is allow more income into your life.
Mm.
And I love that you chose the word allow more income into your life. Why allow?
Ooh, I love that. Okay, so our mutual friend Darnielle Jervy Hartman,
Mhm.
she says to make yourself, if you want more money to move in your life, you need to make yourself investable. So I just love that. I hadn't heard her say that before I wrote that
Mhm.
acronym. However, I just want to give a shout out because it's like, have you made yourself investable? Are there ways that you have doors open for people to hire you, for people to buy something for you? Have you made it clear what's available? Have you made it clear what the ROI for them is? Have you made it clear your skill set on LinkedIn? Like, are you have you put all the shingles up so that money can flow into your life and that you can allow the abundance that's already available? It already has your name on it. And so many of us are doing things to block it. So, for example, I used to be a feng shui consultant when I was in New York. That was like one of my businesses. And I would go to people's apartments and I would help them reorganize to energetically align their home with their desires. And it is the closest thing to magic that I can teach. And so, what I would find is these women were telling me about their money issues. And then we'd be like going through their piles of clutter. And I'd be like, hi, there's a check over here that you never deposited. I'm also noticing you have like 10 invoices that you haven't mailed. What's going on? I see this so often that people are like, there's not enough money. I'm scared. I'm da da da. And yet, because they're so caught in their unconscious programming, in their nervous system wiring that's trying to keep them in a limited capacity for abundance, because our nervous system will always bring us back to the same feeling of money that we experienced growing up until we decide to
Mm.
do something about that. And so, because that feeling that felt normal to them and that felt safe to them was a feeling of lack, they would actually completely forget to deposit checks. They would find 800 million reasons not to send the invoices to their clients for money that was already owed for them for work that they had already done. And so that's why I say, like, allow. because there's so much money waiting to come into all of our lives that we block in a million different unconscious ways.
This is so good. I think, here where we talk about the six pillars of wealth, I also just talk about how the things that we're doing in each one of the pillars are why we are blocked and why it feels cluttered. It's not that the money is not available to us. We can't even see it, even though it's
Yes.
right in front of us. We just cannot see it. It's not that it's not there.
Yes.
Oh, okay. You say that one of the missing pieces or the missing piece of financial wellness is the nervous system. And you just talked about going back. Your nervous system wants to go back to the state that basically felt familiar as a child. So we
Yeah.
recreate the same scenarios and cycles, no matter the education, no matter the career choice, no matter how much money we actually make, we will recreate the same thing.
Yes. Always.
Give us
And
some examples.
I found this out myself having become a seven-figure business owner and still noticing I was like, at the end of the year, I would still be like, where did it all go? And so there I was having definitely more than enough money coming in, like for sure. And yet my behavior around it was unconsciously trying to get me back to the same feeling of tightness and pressure and stress around money that I experienced growing up. Not because it felt good, but because it felt like home. So we will always be going back unconsciously to what feels like home until we rewire our brain and nervous system patterning, because our brain and nervous system, the unconscious parts,
Mhm.
are what are causing like 98% of our behavior. We think like we're out here being logical with our cognition and with our prefrontal cortex, and we're like smart and we have these degrees and we know these strategies. No, we're not. We're we are just little unconscious, like doing the thing based on what we are programmed to create. The good news is with neuroplasticity, we can all create completely new programming so that instead of being wired for survival, right? Because if you think about like we're animals and we evolved um, within a very small community, like not more than 150 people, to experience like just the basics of what was in our immediate environment. So
Mhm.
the flora and fauna, the people, the ways of being, it was very limited. That's how our brains evolved. However, technology has vastly outpaced how fast we can evolve as animals. And so what we have to understand is that our wiring, our survival wiring, is trying to make sure that we only experience that which we have experienced before
Mhm.
so that it can keep us alive. It's doing a great job because here we are, we're alive, right? However, every single thing that's on our goal list is basically something that we have never experienced before, and probably our ancestors haven't. And in many cases, our immediate circle of friends or
Right.
family also hasn't. And so our whole nervous system and brain is like, don't ever experience anything new, except our goals are for everything that we've never experienced. And so we're literally working at odds with our subconscious and unconscious programming.
Mhm.
And then we think like, what's wrong with me? Why did I get the higher paying job and I still don't feel like I have enough money? Why can I not get myself to like book the appointment with my financial advisor? Like this is not, it's not hard. And yet we just sabotage ourselves over and over and over again. Why do I get to the pitch during my webinar and I just botch it every single time? Right. So,
Mm.
like, despite having followed, the 7-part webinar frame, right? Like, these things happen all the time. It's
Yeah.
because our nervous system is trying to make sure that we don't experience anything new, that we don't expand past our current level of capacity. But the good news is that if you learn to signal to your body that you're safe, it will it will actually metabolize all the stress and the leftover drama from the past, and it'll allow, and all the energy will be freed up
Mhm.
to repattern, so you have a new response to the same stimulus. So like
Yeah.
money, whatever your habitual response would be, contraction, fear, panic, pressure, whatever, you can rewire it. So it's like money, oh, relaxation, possibility, freedom, joy, all of those things. And then suddenly you'll find yourself acting in a completely different way without having to like micromanage all your
Mhm.
individual behaviors, because that's exhausting.
It is. It is. What's one of the ways, I know you teach many things in Relax Money, but what's one of the ways that we could start to calm our nervous system
Yeah.
and let her know that she's safe?
Let her know. Okay, so let's say, for example, you are sitting and having a conversation about money with your partner and it has gotten tense. Like maybe you're having a month where there's more expenses than you expected. Maybe your kid needs braces. Maybe there's a tuition bill, all sorts of things happen, right? And things are feeling tense. So what's happening in that moment is that, and maybe you're starting to fight. What's happening in that moment is your body is sensing a threat. Okay.
Mhm.
And your body's way of sensing a threat will be to go into fight, flight, or freeze or fawn. The thing is that your body is sensing a threat like it would have experienced a bear chasing it. But actually, you're just sitting at your kitchen counter. And so there's all these stress hormones that are running through your body and causing all of your blood to flow to your extremities so that
Mhm.
you can fight or run. But actually, you're just sitting at your kitchen counter with the person you love. And so now you're in a position where you can't think straight, where you are operating from a place of fear. And when we operate from a place of fear, we only get solutions that create more of the same. When we
Mhm.
operate from fear, we come up with solutions and behaviors that create more fear. And so, what we could do in that moment is just press pause and go take a walk around the block or go do some jumping jacks. And I know that sounds like nuts, but the thing is, your body needs to experience something physiologically to say, hey, the threat has passed. The bear's not chasing you. All is well. And it can come back to rest and digest, stay and play, tend and befriend, which is our parasympathetic dominant response. And in
Mhm.
parasympathetic dominant response, we have all this blood flow to the right parts of our brain to be smart and connected and intuitive, and our digestion improves, our immune function improves, and our ability to connect with another human being and make logical choices also improves. The thing is that we've been taught for so long that the solution to everything is in our mind.
Oh, get
In
into
our
it.
mind is fear. If you follow your thoughts long enough, untended, they will tell you that you suck and that you are doomed. They
Right.
just will. But actually, like this morning, I woke up and I was feeling like, meh, 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 meh. Like I'm luteal. I'm on day 23 of my cycle. And I was just like, blah, 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 blah. Then I go to dance class. I work out I metabolize all of the stress in my body. I danced with my girlfriends. I sweat. I had the greatest time. And I left and I was like, I am a freaking goddess. I can do everything. I feel amazing. My life is fabulous. There's literally nothing wrong. Nothing wrong. Because I used my body to signal to my entire system that all is well. And that is not something you can think your way into. You have to feel your way into that physiologically. So my response is like, do some jumping jacks, get a little trampoline in the corner, have a dance break, take a walk around the block. Like anything physical will help
Mhm.
us move past the threat so that we can then return in a state of what is true, which is that like 9 times out of 10, everything's great.
Right. More
Yeah,
is great in many cases than is not, even when we're up
yes,
against difficult decisions or what we
totally.
would perceive as an uncomfortable conversation.
And you will make much smarter money decisions from a place of wholeness and safety. So I want to give a practical example. This is also an exclusive. I have never given this example before because it just occurred to me. So 2021, my family and I moved to Miami. It was somewhat under duress. There was a lot going on. I won't get into all the details, but we ended up deciding to put our house in Maine on the market. My husband was really sick. It was like the global pandemic. Things were rough in our business. There was like just a lot of layers of things going on. I was so stressed. And I did not know what I know now about the nervous system and
Mhm.
actually repatterning. So, even though we had a renter in the house who was paying us more than twice the amount of the mortgage to live in that house, we decided to sell the house. That was not a smart money move in the long term. We made money on the house, whatever, it's fine. It's water under the bridge. But I know that we would have both made a much smarter money choice, which would have been to keep that property and use it for cash flow, which we would still be cash flowing now if I had felt safe in my body. But because I
Mhm.
felt fear, I made a fear based decision versus
Mhm.
an abundance based decision.
Oh, Kate, this is so good. You know what? I can relate to that as well. And I think I shared some of this with you before, but when I was going through my divorce, that's an example for me where I made certain decisions in negotiation because at the time I kept saying, I just want to have peace.
Yeah.
It was not after I got through it and I look back, again, water under the bridge, but looking back, some of the choices I made in that negotiation were not the wisest financial choices I could make when I am at my best
Yes.
and not in that, and not like operating from the fear and the angst and the energy of just like, I just want to be done. I just want this to be
Right.
fast. I just, and that felt okay at the time. It even felt like it sounded noble. I just want a divorce with peace. I
Yeah.
don't want to. And it felt like that. But if I'm radically honest, looking back, I would have made different choices, but I can't weaponize what I know today against that version of myself because that girl was in fight or flight.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what you're describing so perfectly is where relaxed money came from because I was in this state of 24/7 freak out. I was severely dysregulated at that time in 2021.
Mhm.
And I was caught in this loop. And the loop was if my husband could just be well and make a bunch of money, then I would get to finally experience peace. Then I would finally get to experience relaxation. Then I would get to exhale. But until something changes externally with someone else that I literally have no control over, I do not get to experience an exhale. And I took myself on a 90-day experiment where instead of responding in my business and in my life from ramp up energy that I was so used to my whole life of like, it's okay. I'm just going to run this email campaign. I'm just going to launch this extra offer over here. I'm just let me do a full song and dance original musical and I'll pull it out of the hat. Like, no problem. Look at me. Also, I feel a little resentful about it. And I was like, for 90 days, I am not allowed to do that. I am not allowed to do the show. And I said, we are only going to deliver what we have promised to our customers already, nothing more. And anytime I feel that ramp up energy where I feel like I don't get to relax,
Mhm.
I am just going to choose inactivity. Like I am going to choose to do something that feels so antithetical to the illusion of emergency that I'm in, which by the way, it still was like we were paying for two lives. One of the earners was fully down for the count. My husband was incredibly sick. Then he broke his leg and he couldn't walk. Like we had two little kids. There were many, my mom was getting canceled on the internet, people were banging down my door, trying to
Mhm.
hold me accountable. Yes, there were a lot of things going on, but I was like, okay, Every time I get that whole like, I'm gonna just run, 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 run. I had a little menu of items that were my choices. And my choices were to scream into a pillow in the closet, to watch daytime television in bed,
Mm.
to call a girlfriend and cry, to take a walk, or to go talk to the ocean and pray. So that was my menu for 90 days. And I was like, either after 90 days, we'll have gone into an amount in our savings that I can't go any further, or the experiment will be over. We shall see. And after 90 days, what was so amazing is that we hit all of our financial goals, and it hadn't required my stress and pressure in order to do it. And so I was like, oh, okay, there's something to this. And in 90 days was enough to have repatterned myself to some degree to have now a different automatic behavior.
Kate, okay, I love this for you, friend. And I'm also hearing collectively people go, but how could I possibly do something like this? Do you suggest such an experiment for a shorter period of time? How do we do this practically?
That's a great question. If you have a business that is relatively consistent, you could try a full on 90-day experiment like mine. Um, that's not going to be for everybody, right?
Mhm.
Like you could try 7 days and over, because no one's going to burn their life down in 7 days, right? Like you could try.
Well, no, I'm kidding.
Well, maybe you are,
No,
but
I'm
like
kidding.
probably not. Probably you could take 7 days where every time you are about to do the old behavior, which might be overworking, overgiving, overfunctioning, hypervigilance, like a lot of people I work with have those sorts of behaviors. Codependency, like doing too much. Anytime you go into that hyper activity, you could just decide to notice. And sometimes you'll miss it, and that's totally fine.
Mhm.
Like we can just be compassionate with ourselves. And you could just say, okay, give yourself a little menu. What's your menu for seven
Mm.
days? What are your other choices? Is it like go have a cup of tea? Is it put on one of your favorite songs and have a dance break? Is it take a walk around the block? Is it take off your shoes and socks and go stand in the grass? What are your choices? And then just see what happens after 7 days. And then maybe you go another seven. Maybe you go another
Mhm.
7. I mean, I'm a little bit extreme, and I also have I have a pretty big risk tolerance.
Mhm.
So I just was like, figure it out. But not everyone's
Yeah.
like that. And that's great.
Yeah, that was like me cutting off the $1,000,000 stream of income because I just felt led.
Yeah.
And I know people are like, "Ah, are you crazy?" And
You and I are wired very
I
similarly, my friend.
but I definitely say I like the 7-day rule. I know one of my things would be to watch a comedy show. I love finding random comedy, like comedy stand-ups from
Yes.
artists that I don't know, from
Ooh, oh, I'm
comedians
gonna
I don't
send you
know.
some.
Oh, yeah, send me some. That's
We
like
love
one of
stand-up special.
my things. I just love to laugh
Yeah.
and give myself permission to do that, especially during a time where things feel like they should be tense, and I'm like, "Yeah, but I'm not really giving into that right now."
And when we laugh, when we give ourselves permission to fully emote, whether it's joy, sadness, grief, anger, it actually does metabolize past stress, and it actually does heal our nervous system. So, like watching a comedy special on TV is totally a nervous system healing tool.
Oh, I love it. Okay, so Kate, during this 90 days, what were you doing though in terms of your personal finance? Like, were you still paying down debt? Were you still using your systems and all
Yeah.
the things?
Yeah, so at that time, we're big fans of the profit first system.
Oh, I love
Mike and
it. Mike and
Palowitz.
Powitz. Yep.
Yep, great system. So we were still doing like all the stewardship of our money. By that point, we had really put in place like the day-to-day systems so that our money systems were pretty solid. Um, and so I didn't have any debt to pay down at the time. But I do want to share something that I think is important to say. We made less money that year than the previous year. Also, my email list decreased. Also, my social media following decreased. So, and I was happier, right? Like I was healthier in a
Mm.
year where the numbers looked like things were worse. Inside myself, things were better. So I do want to highlight that because we have such a myth that more is always better,
Mhm.
and it's not. And so yes, we were doing like our we do Mike and I do a money meeting every week. It's a money love date, and we were, seeing what came in, divvying it up into the different buckets that we needed to, making sure everything was covered. And we had a certain amount of savings that I felt comfortable going in the hole with
Mhm.
before like I sounded the alarm. So I had that amount in mind, or 90 days, whichever came first.
Gotcha.
And we didn't end up needing to go into our savings.
Yeah.
And I think like energetically, depending on how spiritual your community is, I really know that my relaxation increased my magnetism. And so the promotions that we had already planned that were like rinse and repeat, pretty easy, did better because people
Mm.
could feel the resonance in my energy field. And they were just like, that feels good. Right? Because
Mhm.
people are repulsed by desperation.
Yeah. Yeah. They can pick up on it even if they
Yeah.
can't
So I
name it.
I I think in the end, it actually was probably a sales strategy, even though that's not at all why I was doing it.
Oh, I love this. I absolutely love this. I love what you stand for, what you teach. Can you share more about relaxed money and what folks could look forward to if they decide to join you on this journey?
Absolutely. So the patterns that run our financial life unconsciously have usually been built over decades. And so Relaxed Money is a program that really hits all the angles from brain and nervous system rewiring so that the new behaviors become automatic and habitual, to practical financial management and stewardship, to wait, Patrice, are you still here? Should I keep going? Yes, you are still here. Okay, great. Should I keep going? Yeah. Okay, great. So, nervous system and brain rewiring, to practical financial stewardship, to also how to get your money working for you, and manifesting in energetics and healing beliefs and limiting thoughts. So, most money programs handle the financial literacy and like personal finances stuff, or the energetics and manifesting, or the wealth building and wealth stewardship and getting your money to work for you. But Relax Money has all of it, plus the brain and nervous system rewiring. So it really is a comprehensive. I actually don't know of any other financial programs that give you everything you need. And so I teach it live over 13 weeks. And then folks get a full year of continued support and community for integration, because these patterns have developed over a lifetime.
Mhm.
So folks tend to need a minute to integrate and recalibrate. And so we like to give them the plenty of time to do that.
Yeah, we always say that too, that we don't want to have spaces where you're just gathering information, but you don't have the time to actually practice the integration. And you need the repetition, you need the reminders, you need the community to hear other people
Yes,
reflect back to you something you may be experiencing but didn't have the words for until you heard them ask a question. And I love
100%.
that you give that ongoing support. I think nowadays too, I think we're coming out of the season of just wham, bam, thank you, ma'am, in these spaces and courses and programs. And it's like, give people an opportunity because life is always happening as well. Just because we
Yeah.
open the doors at a certain time, it doesn't mean that your life stops or what you have on your plate stops. But to be able to still show up for the live calls as well and still get that support, I think is really good. And no, I have been a part of, seen, heard about a lot of money programs. I don't know anyone that has all of the pieces integrated the way that you do. Um, a lot of programs that I've seen over time have a lot of great skill set information, but they definitely don't give you the mindset and also the nervous system piece to actually follow through with the execution, because as you're doing these new things, especially if you haven't been in a place or in a community where these things are normal or where you can talk about, these adjustments, you're out there by yourself, and it
Yeah.
could feel very foreign and scary and take you right back to, oh my goodness, what am I doing? Why am I here? Who do I think I am? This is not for us. This is not what people where I come from do, and all those things. And so
Yes.
having that nervous system work first and the emotional work that you go through and all of the exercises. And I love seeing you literally shake around.
Yeah,
I,
you will have, like, by the end of the program, you will have a complete toolkit for healing your nervous system, and it will support your financial life, of course, but it'll also
that's your
support
life.
your parenting, your physical health. Like, the physical health outcomes are amazing. And yeah, so it really hits every area. And if you are somebody who is ready to really feel relaxed with your money and have not only the nervous system capacity, but also the financial systems that just feel easeful and like breathing, this
Mhm.
is really the spot for that.
Yeah, I knew it was great too when you get to a part about uh, kind of managing debt or paying off the debt. And I love you talked about going with the one that causes the most stress, which I thought was so good because most programs will tell you, oh, it's the one with the highest APR, the highest this or highest that. And when I saw even that, that felt so aligned. Like
Mhm.
that's something that I've talked about over the years. And I'm like, I love Kate. I
That's great.
absolutely love Kate. She gets
Yay.
it.
Yeah.
You guys, I would love for you to check out Relaxed Money. I do believe, Kate, that you have something amazing here. I believe it is so complementary to the work that we do at Redefining Wealth. I think it's the next piece, especially for those of you who have been purpose chasers for a while. You've been doing the work, been becoming more authentically aligned, clearing clutter from a lot of the pillars, and now you want the actual tangible next steps. This is Kate's jam. It's not necessarily what I desire to speak about in these seasons. And I'm okay with that because I have really great sisters in the experience here that offer those things. And I definitely want you guys to check out Relax Money. So make sure you go to patricewashington.com/relaxed and you will see all of the goodies that Kate has available right now. When do the doors to Relax Money close this round?
They will close on May 1st.
Okay. May 1st. You guys are just in time. You have some time to check it out. I'll make sure I link to all of the goodies that Kate has for you so you can check it out and see more about it. But Kate, thank you for what you offer in this world. You are incredible. And every time I see you, you just instantly make me smile. Maybe it was your dance party earlier, me going to the gym earlier, because I woke up a little as well.
Uh-huh.
But when I
Yeah.
went to the gym, a few guys flirted with me. I have a boot on
Ooh,
my foot.
yes.
I
Oh,
didn't want
you
them,
do?
Kate. I didn't want them, but I do. I sprained my ankle at the time of this recording. Y'all will know. I sprained my ankle and I had a boot on. And I said, well, apparently boots at the gym are the way to
Okay.
bring the
Who
boys to the
knew
yard.
that? That's
And
great.
I know every time I talk to you, I don't know, I feel like such ease and just
Mhm.
fun and just so connected. And I love Relaxed Money. And thank you for allowing me to go through the course. This
Oh
was
my
such a
gosh.
blessing to me. You have no idea what a blessing it was. And I genuinely want more people to experience your brilliance. So thank you, friend.
Thank you, Patrice. It is just, I love being your friend. I adore you. And it is such an honor to have supported in any way I can.
Thank you. You guys, check out all of the links in the show notes. Definitely want to follow Kate. I'm going to link to where she is online in the show notes. But just remember, you have an opportunity to have a beautiful love story with money. It doesn't matter how we started, where we come from, who raised us. We have an opportunity to repattern, retrain, and reframe all of these things. We don't have to end the way the story started. And Kate Northrup is definitely one of those people who can help you on this journey, along with, of course, redefining wealth. So I hope this was a blessing to you. Make sure you share your thoughts, your ahas, your takeaways in the comments. Of course, you can always come into the Redefining Wealth app where we will talk further about this episode. And yeah, I hope it was a blessing to you. Until next week, please go live your life's purpose, find fulfillment, and keep earning more without ever feeling like you have to chase money. We'll talk to you later. When I find the end recording button.